Welcome to the Occult Rejects. This episode, we got a very, very special guest, somebody I've wanted to get on for a while. I guess maybe I just never had the balls to ask him, and then I don't know, went for it. So before we get to Ccrow777, let me introduce the other rejects we got joining the show. And we got back the loon herself, Judith. What is going on, Judith? How are you?
You could catch me on Sundays during the brunch. I do more of meditative and mindfulness work. And I also do Buddy Check, which is geared towards veterans. And you can catch me on YouTube as The Loon, as well as on X, where I'm a little bit more free with my opinions as The Loon as well. Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you coming on the show. And we got, you know what, Magus? I'm going to leave you for the last because your intros are amazing. So, my man Ethan Indigo, what is going on, sir? How are you?
Salute. Appreciate being here with everybody. Yeah, Magus drops some great introductions and poignant remarks. So, and as does everyone. Excited for this Ccrow777. I've checked out a lot of your stuff over the years. Ethan Indigo Smith, easy to find on all the social media, Tai Chi practitioner, meditator, writer, and a couple of articles on Occult Research Institute and a few books out there here and there. So appreciate everybody.
Appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate you adding to the website. I really much appreciate that. Again, that is occultresearch.org. Ethan's got plenty of stuff on there. Thank you very much, Ethan. And then to finally get to the guests, we do have Rose joining us with Ccrow777. She will be helping put the stuff up on the screen and make it run a lot smoother. Rose, real quick, if you want to say hi, you can.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and help.
Of course. Thank you. And I see you in the chat often. So I really, I don't know, that blew my mind when I realized who you were, actually. So I appreciate it. And finally, we got Ccrow777. What is going on, sir? Please, for the people who don't know who you are, which I highly suggest nobody knows who you are, let everybody know where they can find you, please.
All right. I'm just another guy. I run Ccrow777radio.com. We run everything off a private server, which is guaranteeing free speech. We do use social media, but not in the way most people do. It all points back to the website because I don't go in for censorship and I don't go for people taking control of the work I've done, like YouTube did with the Lunar Wave, informing me that they own and can use anything I ever uploaded, including for commercials. In other words, the first Lunar Wave could be in a Google commercial if they felt like it. So that's why I run off a private server now.
Why did I know that? That is some ballsy shit. You know what I've noticed with them? They'll like give me a reason why they can't monetize an episode, but yet they'll still throw commercials in there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, who's getting paid for that? You ain't paying me for this episode.
To me, censorship is like the definition of evil. Censorship, limiting human thought and human creativity. It's one thing if people are being injured or threatened, but that is not the case, and that is not what this is about. This is wholesale mind control, and it's gotten so bad that they've trained folks to censor their own mouths. Instead of saying gun, which is a word we know and we use in this language, they say pew pew. Instead of saying dead or died or passed away, they say unalived, as if the AI can't possibly put together what word they've replaced.
Yeah. I always thought that was funny when people were like using it. I was just like, I don't know. The stuff I say on my channel, I don't know. Crow, thank you very much for coming on. I know you did want to talk about a lot of the lunar and the solar stuff. You've been doing a lot of work on the moon and the sun. I guess what I kind of wanted to ask you at first is what brought you even to starting with all that stuff? What was it that piqued your interest to start staring at this shit?
Well, growing up, I always wanted a telescope, and I grew up in a house of teachers. You know, we didn't have a color TV till past the mid 80s. And so it just wasn't in the cards. Actually, when I was young, I did get a microscope. So I guess I went the other way, looking at really tiny things. But when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was wanting a telescope, but by chance, I got a chance to get the scope, the fully robotic 8-inch scope that actually accidentally filmed the first lunar wave. And I got it for a deal, but even at a deal, it put me in debt. I'd never been in debt like that except for a car. It was over a couple $1,000, and I was just out of the Marine Corps. I think I separated from the Marine Corps with a few $100s in the bank, but that's really what started it. And what kicked it into high gear was the accidental filming of the first lunar wave. I held the footage for a year. I filmed it at the spring equinox or fall equinox of 2012, and I posted it, I think, on October 13th, a year later. So just over a year. And the moment I put that online, everything changed. It was a big deal to the point where I had to change email addresses, shut my phone off, get a new phone number, just endless controversy at first. 30 days after posting the first 2012 lunar wave, the flat earth movement kicked off in a serious way, and all of them were referencing the lunar wave. So it got big, and it got big quick. And, you know, I filmed for, I don't know, something like 6 years straight, almost every hour that I could. And much of that footage is available to members of Ccrow777radio.com in a film, 2-hour film that Jason produced called Shoot the Moon. Here's the first lunar wave up now. Watch the camera pan.
Wow.
Oh, I already missed it. I'll tell you when it comes around. But the film that's free to everybody at Ccrow777radio.com has 10 awards in the world. The last 2 came from India. So
it's like the slowest
look at
refresh
this.
I've seen in my life.
It goes down, I pan above the wave, and the wave catches up to the camera. That has always been proof that this is a filmed event and not mechanical.
I don't know if people, I can see that. I don't know if people can see that, but I could definitely see that going right up the moon and it just hit the top. That is wild. I was looking at some of your other stuff. I don't know. I didn't come across this one. This one is like so blatant.
Did you just say that you won awards for this?
This footage is in the 2-hour film with lots of footage I shot over those 6 years. So-called UFOs, chemtrails, orbs, invisible craft, all kinds of stuff to include 7 lunar waves is in that film. And it's got 10. Jason submitted it to the, you know, the indie film circuit out in the world. And we didn't think it was going to go anywhere, but it did. And it got 10 awards. The last one came from Jaipur, India.
Crazy. Oh, so what we were seeing there is on that sphere of the moon, on a wave going up it, and then the next image was half ultraviolet. Can you explain what that image was, or were we not supposed to see that?
No, Rose, can you put up the
Gotcha.
So I had a DSLR that was a Canon with 25 megapixels, and I sent it away so that it would be full spectrum. But let me qualify that. We're not allowed to have full spectrum per se. We can get a little bit into IR and a little bit into UV because of the laws that changed. I think it was the 70s for military applications. But what happened here is I took it, sent it in for just not very much, $200-300, I think. They pull the little cover off the top of the chip because all the chips collect in full spectrum, and they put a different clear one on. So this is collecting in near IR, visual, and near UV. So I took this image, and what you're looking at is the blown out side is the lit side of the moon you can see with your eyes. The other side is normally blacked out and you can't see it, but with the full spectrum, it gives you a perfect view of what's normally invisible.
Wow. Okay, that's crazy. Can you describe to me? Is this just not a normal camera? What are you using to catch this again?
Yeah, it's a normal camera. It's just a Canon DSLR.
Okay,
but you send it. I think Spencer's is the camera shop, and who knows if they made it through COVID.
Yeah,
it broke just about everything. But all they do is they pull the little filter off the top of the optical chip.
Yeah.
And they put a clear one on instead of filtering out the IR and UV and leaving just visual. It allows it all in.
And that's illegal to do.
No.
No.
Yeah, what I was trying to point out is it's very difficult to get good IR and good UV where you're deep.
Okay. Yep. That makes sense. Wow, that's pretty crazy. And so then can you give us a little more of what you think that is representing?
Can you be a little? I'm not sure.
Sorry,
exactly.
like the ultraviolet part where normally would be black. Why is it presenting itself to us that way?
Let me go at it this way.
Okay.
If you grab a search engine and you say, "Show me the visual spectrum,"
all right,
you'll get this big bar that goes IR, UV, X-ray.
Yeah, of course.
But in the center, there's a little tiny sliver that's visual spectrum, right? Where the color is.
Yep.
That's what we see with our eyes. We're damn near blind. We see something like 0.3 of the spectrum. We're literally almost blind.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
What's happened here is we've gained a little more of the frequencies we can't pick up. And just to describe it like a layman, it's things that are really dim become brighter because it's more sensitive.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And as we do this, whenever you see anything that I created and it looks pink, you'll know I was using that canon I just described.
That makes sense. Okay, awesome. Nice.
So you've caught this lunar wave on film a few times. What do you hypothesize is going on?
I filmed it 5 times. Many other people have filmed it. It's been filmed once in front of Saturn, twice in front of Jupiter. When this happened, I don't remember how it became called the lunar wave. Maybe it just happened. I don't know. But I thought it was specific to the moon, and I thought maybe it had something to do with equinoxes. Neither one of those things is true. It's been filmed all over the year. And my best guess, because I can't tell you certainly what it is maybe it should be called a firmament wave, but that's just a guess.
One thing I did want to ask, and sorry, this is going to probably sound like such an ignorant question, but I don't know anything about this stuff. Do you think it's possible that, like, I'm still saying, like, it's something weird, like, because there's no stars in the background, I can't see if that whole frame is doing it or if just the moon's doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing else in the background to see past the black to see if something else has a thing go up it.
Well, I suspect that anywhere in the ecliptic, you can probably film this if there's something bright enough behind it that allows you to see it. In terms of does it go past the edge, I assume it does. For a long time, I assumed it didn't. For a long time, I assumed it was to the moon, that it was to do with the moon.
Yeah.
But we need to know a lot more. Some people, every now and then, I get an email, I figured out the lunar wave. I just got one of those a week ago, someone using the Book of Enoch. But the problem is that many people who magically figure it out have never observed the sky clock and never used telescopes and have no idea about what the luminaries are about. And I think anyone who figures this out probably needs a little bit of information all the way across the board.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a quick question. Have you tried to see if these waves coincide with like solar flares or anything like that?
I think almost every line of reasoning I can possibly consider has been tried by somebody. And yes, actually, I'll have to get Rose in. Was that part of what Luke did, Rose?
Sorry about that. I didn't realize that it's sharing my whole screen. Okay, so when we had Luke on episode 650, he discussed something that he's calling divine emission theory. And so with atomic theory, which is the mainstream, they're applying different rules to what they're calling the quantum and the macro, which doesn't make sense. What everyone's looking for is a unified theory where you can apply the same rules to everything, the micro and the macro. And that's what Luke has done. But we don't know if this is just ChatGPT mathemagic with confirmation bias, because I'm not smart enough to know. I haven't looked at all the physics, but I have a list of about 100 books I could read to catch up to Luke and then have an informed opinion. But giving him the benefit of the doubt that all of the math is lining up, he is showing that on the smallest scale, matter is created because of torsion. And what he's calling a scalar knot is the idea that there is the spinning of the smallest objects that could possibly exist. I'm probably doing a really bad job explaining this, but if you can imagine this rotation, this torsional rotation that's then gathering energy to the point that then it can release it, that's how then matter starts to be made when you think about matter being folded light.
Yeah.
So it goes, so you hear people say we are light beings. Everything is light. Matter is light. So then if you take it up to the macro and we're talking about the sun, if you're thinking about a toroid or a dielectric hyperboloid that's contracting and expanding and contracting like a respiratory system, one could argue that everything in existence that has consciousness is breathing. So like a leaf, it has photosynthesis, or I might be using the wrong word for it for the respiratory system of plants, but chlorophyll. Or we have lungs, and then the sun and the moon, maybe they are conscious luminaries that are also breathing. So the sun, and I'll put up an image. I had to come back to this tab to unmute myself. So let me go over here. Now you can see this is one of Crow's images of the sun, and he's picking up on what looks like, to me, you could interpret that as a pulsing. And so in Luke's opinion with divine emission theory, as he described in episode 650, he would say that the lunar wave is going across the whole sky, and it could be described as a pressure wave, that everything is emitting pressure. And that emission of pressure is a precursor to electromagnetism.
Nice.
So there you go. Now you know why she's here. She has the memory I traded for the 70s and 80s.
Attaboy. I'd like to add something to that, actually. Why it's so fascinating to me is everything you're talking about with matter being created by toroidal energies, and that torsion that you're talking about. So in body science, as in ancient or just Chinese Kung Fu, in your Tai Chi science, when you're learning these things, the top half of your body and the bottom half of your body are like two tetrahedrons pointing at each other. And what you're doing with the forms themselves, interacting with the breathing patterns, is you're making a toroidal field with the body, because both the pyramid at the bottom and the top are spinning in opposite directions, which then is uniting at the dantian, creating that, and then interacting with the breath technique in the body. You're actually it's so fascinatingly similar. You're creating something, and what you're doing is you're getting back into the Wu state of that first beginning before things happen to be the yin and the yang. So that's a kind of an interesting, and then him calling it the divine emission theory closely resembles that same kind of Taoist science that they're using with that kind of stuff. So fascinating.
He's a smart guy, and I love that he's going at it with ideas of breath. Inhale, exhale. That's where I'll agree all day long. Even if I don't think he's correct, I'll agree all day long, because he's going at it at such a sensible level. Yeah, you just got to support him.
Yeah, that's a great level. So would you or him say that then, I mean, are these planets or the moons and these things that are doing this, they're breathing in a way that makes them conscious beings or entities in and of themselves, or what?
There's nothing, from my point of view, this is my point of view, there's not a thing that you can interact with that we couldn't call alive.
Nice. Yeah.
It doesn't exist. And when you look at the problem, obviously, with how we've been brought up here is, you can tell someone, did you know that all truth resides in nature? And they might think about it and say, hey, that's an interesting idea. But nature ends, when I look up, I'm still not looking at nature, but you are. That is still part of the creation, or whatever you'd like to call it. And if you include the spiritual thinking that science omits, you won't hear about orbits. You'll hear about spiritual realms for each of the so-called luminaries or planets. In many ways, what modern science has done, two things. Well, it's been helpful on a lot of levels. Don't get me wrong. We got a lot of stuff out of it. But at the same time, we've become very hyper materialist, which isn't a healthy thing. And the other things, it's made us 2/3 blind. Because if we look at the old natural sciences, we recognize that anything can be broken down into body, spirit, and soul, right? Well, science only recognizes the body. That's what I call 2/3 blind. And that is a bit of a general statement I'm making here, but you see what I'm pointing at. If you're not going to allow the spiritual context of what it means to be a human being, well, I mean, come on. Well, how many parts of my body do I clip off before I fit your bill here? We are spiritual beings. It's just a fact.
Yeah, no, for sure. Baruch Spinoza, the idealist philosopher, would 100% agree with you with his idea that God and nature are, very interacting, being very similar substances. So
You
It's
know, you see
fascinating.
science do it all the time when
Yeah.
they want to make that submarine that goes faster than they can, and they work at it and they work at it. Then one of the guys says, "Hey, man, what's the fastest fish?" Some guy tells him, "Let's go out and study that fish. Let's look at the shape." And oh, wow, it's covered with scale. You know, they start to take the truths of nature back into the laboratory instead of trying to engineer their way through it. This has already been done.
Like that. Does anybody else have any other questions? Oh, good. All right. Here, let me bring that back up again. One thing I did get. So, one thing I did want to ask too. Has there been things of this? Obviously, it wouldn't be your work. Have you ever seen anything like this prior to 2012?
Right now, I consider myself very, very privileged. I spent 6 years with a telescope on the moon and the daytime sky around chemtrails, trying to convince people it wasn't normal. Then I took a break and I began to save, because in my mind, I was thinking the sun's a big deal and it's going to be a big deal as we do this era shift that we're doing. So I saved for years and years, and I got a very large hydrogen alpha telescope that sees, you know, in that wavelength, hydrogen alpha. I'm sorry, I lost the question. What was it you asked me?
Yeah, it's all right. If there was any like, did anybody notice this prior to?
Yeah. So the scope that I got, only 3 of that size have been sold to private people. But the first thing, when you're asking me, if you go to a place like AstroBin online, you can see what all the amateurs are doing, because a lot of people want to say this is CGI. Before you start accusing people and NASA of CGI, go to AstroBin and look at what thousands of amateurs have done. It's a good benchmark. But I'm privileged because 15, 20 years ago, there was no prayer that I could get images like this or a view like this. You can go back to 2015 when I accidentally discovered the so-called second sun, and look at the quality of the solar scope I'm using. It's not even in the same country as the one I have now. So she's rolling through all these images shot in the hydrogen alpha. That's a sunspot really close. That's a looping prominence in the hydrogen alpha wavelength. That represents over 3 hours of filming, and the quantity of data collected when I approach 4 hours can sometimes be a terabyte.
Would you assume that's got to be some sort of magnetism that's doing that right there?
Well, you can see by the shape there. I like to point out that when you play with a magnet in a sandbox, you get these electromagnetic shapes. It is electromagnetic in my view, and it's also conscious in my view.
Oh,
Yeah.
And it also plays
Yeah.
a major role. Like when people ask me, what do you think it is? I can't answer that as much as I'd like to, but the way that I view it is very close to the way Eric Dollard laid it down, but he's much smarter than I will ever be in this lifetime. And it's like a converter of some sort that's drawing its energy from somewhere else. Eric Dollard calls it counter space. The way I view it is like when you take a prism and that white light hits the prism, it breaks out into 7 colors, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is the idea. In the old days, they used to call all the luminaries. They picked the ones we could see. There were 7 of them, right? So the sun is lensing all these energies down to us in the same way a prism breaks out all those 7 colors, right? So in my view, it's taking energy, converting it, and it's lensing in all the other energetic influences, providing everything we need for light and life and plants and everything.
So is this so then if I can dare to say, then this is way different the way you're presenting it than the mainstream science is presenting it, obviously. And we're trying to help show the world through your work that there is something different. There's something more to what's going on, and we need to wake up to that. Like, how can you tell me why these two things are? Like, what is that pulsation showing us that we should like waken up to, that we're not being expressed?
Huh. Did you hear that? What happened?
See there?
I don't know. Maybe.
Sorry, I was muted out.
Uh-oh.
Let me answer that in a very generalized way that people can think about.
Thank you.
NASA certainly has images that are in the hydrogen alpha wavelength, but they've got all these other wavelengths. A lot of them look like they're CGI, like X-ray or other things that we don't really have access to.
Yeah.
If you go to a place like Astrobin, you can see what's what and other people doing even better than I am. But when you look at what we want to pay attention to me, it comes down to the same old question that isn't just about the sky clock. It's about every map you've seen. It's about the history we've been handed. It's about the laws that we've been handed. They're all bogus. They're all skewed. They're all designed to control you in some way, shape, or form. So the real question is, how do we get at the truth? And the only way that I can think of is you throw out all the crap that's been jammed in your head and you start over. Maybe at some point, authority comes to its senses and starts to help play the game of what's actually true. But until then, what else do? We've been handed so much bunk that when you say NASA to the average person, they roll their eyes at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been overwhelming, the amount of nonsense that is in our school textbooks. My point of view is that is not 93 million miles away. That's a mind warp. You want me to accept you're going to screw up my time clock while you're describing what the sun is because I had to wait 8 minutes for the light that's going into my camera. Is that common sense? I waited 8 minutes to get this picture to collect that light. That's ridiculous. The moon is over 250,000 miles away, and I can see Tycho crater that's roughly 40 miles across, according to them. Please. With my naked eye, I can see something that's over 250,000 miles. It's not, it lacks common sense, if nothing else. And we could go any which way. I think it's a lot closer, and I think the moon and the sun are probably very similar in size. The story we're told there is, well, the moon is 400 times smaller, but just lucky us, the sun is 400 times more distant than the moon. That's why they fit together so well. If you asked AI to give you the odds on that, it would be astronomical.
No pun intended.
Yeah, right.
That's a serious, that's not,
Yeah, it's fascinating. So then, how do you then start from scratch? I mean, that's I think the question all of us are always asking and talking to our audiences and doing the things, which is then I think why we veer towards the Western esoteric traditions or some kind of embodied practice and things like that. What do you, for this kind of work, to get people back from scratch and rebuild the nervous system with new information, because that's kind of what it takes, is a complete reworking of the system, don't you think?
Yeah. Years ago, when I started to recognize the problem, it was because I grew up, my father was a PhD and a university professor, and his colleagues. And later in life, I began to learn those are the hardest people to get to consider anything that's not in a textbook. They're so invested from all those hours and years and bills to get educated. What I said is, if you're serious about this, you have to throw out everything. And I mean everything. And it is the hardest thing to do. When you try to do it, you'll recognize that you're not doing it. It's just difficult. But when you finally get serious and you do it, down to the point where you are no longer accepting that 1 + 1 is 2. I mean everything. And then if you do that, you'll recognize, well, wait a minute. 1 and 1 is also presented to me as 11 quite often. And I never realized that before. When you start to recognize that all truth resides in nature, whether we recognize it or we don't, you cannot invent truth. You can only recognize it. And that's around us. We're surrounded by truth. So the simple act of saying, I'm tired of lies and falsehoods, I want to know truth, and all these minds tuning into that, surrounded by the source of truth, I imagine we can make headway. Right now, maybe there's fewer of us doing it, but mind precedes everything. And the way we think shapes what's about to happen, which is why media takes so much time to warp our minds and make us afraid and get us to believe in lies. And that is exactly why they're dumping Epstein files. They're playing truth or consequences. You all just got shown the truth. And if you don't do anything about it and nobody goes to jail and nothing is done, guess what? you're going to play the consequences. And that's exactly what they're doing. And it's called Revelation of Method, put forward by James Shelby Downard and my good friend Michael Hoffman. And if you're not subbed to Michael Hoffman, you're missing the boat. This last thing he just put out, as a matter of fact, Rose, can you put a link in the chat, please, to Michael Hoffman's latest Truth or Consequences?
Yeah.
And we're going to have him on in March. And this is a man who co-authored King Kill 33 and writes at a level that will be absent from our world when his generation is gone. I don't know what to tell you. We have the tools we need to build a better bench. We just got to pick them up.
Nice. Yeah, that's really wonderful. Yeah, King Kill 33. I do believe everyone should go out there and take a look at that because that is brilliant work. 100%. Yeah.
One thing I did want to ask you, I guess we kind of like cheated on it a little bit. I did want to ask, like, what's your thoughts? Like, I guess maybe going by what we're handed, do you believe the truth about like what we're told about the planets? Like, you already said you don't think they're that far away. Do you think these things are really like, and it doesn't make a difference to me. Do you think they're real planets actually? Do you think maybe the moon's like a machine or something, you know, or is put there? Like, or do you like, what's your idea with what's out there to begin with?
I can guess like everyone else. I do have years of research, but possibly the moon is maybe better described as plasma. I don't know. But you see, the thing about all those planets, I certainly don't accept that it's rock and dirt. And I certainly don't accept that we can just jump out of a spaceship and walk around on it. But all those other places, those luminaries, there's a spiritual side to everything. And if we go back to the old hidden occulted information, they wouldn't talk about orbits. They would say things like what NASA calls the orbit of the moon is from Earth to the moon. What they would say is that is the lowest spiritual hierarchy of angels. And from the moon to Venus is archangels. And from Venus to Mercury is a thing called the archi, other spiritual beings a little higher up the spiritual food chain. When you get to the sun, that would be the powers of the sun. That, what a word to describe the sun, powers. And if you keep going out to Mars, that's the mites, like Mighty Mouse, the mites of Mars. And everybody knows what Mars represents: action, war, anger, all these things. And then if you go out to Jupiter, it would be the dominions. And then off beyond that, all the way out to Saturn, those would be the thrones. Beyond that, cherubim, seraphim, and the star fields. These are the old spiritual definitions, not calling them orbits. Well, have you ever heard what I just said? And if not, how is it that that can be? And if I have a spiritual side to my life, and there's churches and synagogues and everything all over this world proving that everywhere that I can see around here has a spiritual side, how is it that we've never thought about that?
Yeah.
So maybe we're here because we're tuned to hear. Maybe it's not even possible to leave beyond the firmament because that's a higher spiritual realm.
And I will interact, and just so everybody knows in the audience, what he was talking about with the thrones, powers, dominions, that's the Renaissance magicians and them beforehand were taught of John Dee. This stems from actually Cornelius Agrippa, and go read his 3 books on occult philosophy. That's what they're talking about with the great chain of being and its hierarchy of ascending towards God.
So, yeah, I think it was the Rosicrucians, the very old ones, who had kept it alive up to at least the late 1800s. But you will see that the words that they chose, I want to say around the 1700s, the words I just used were assigned to that to do it to serve a spiritual purpose.
Yeah, that's Agrippa.
If you go into biblical scripture, you can find the word thrones.
And Cornelius Agrippa was, and his Trithomaeus, they were like they were Christians in that time frame, also magicians who were, going through the esoteric magical working. And you can go find that in Agrippa's 3 books of occult philosophy. Everyone should get it. Eric Perdue's translated it, and it's phenomenal.
A lot of people forget that in early Christianity, there were mind sciences. Yeah. Like in the West, we see all these places that do meditation and we make fun of it and stuff. That used to be part of Christianity. That's what the vow of silence is about. You've heard about the monk in his cell. They were practicing the mind sciences way, way back. in Christianity. But all the words that I described as spiritual realms, each one of them can be looked up in scripture. It appears. And that plays into why they were picked, chosen. And when you consider why was it chosen, well, it's simple. They didn't want you to think it was a dirt clod. They wanted you to consider the spiritual possibility.
Crow, didn't you address those hierarchies based on a Steiner book, the Zodiac and Spiritual Hierarchy?
Yeah. That's one place. That is one place. It's the Steiner book that has hierarchy in the title. There are many other places, as Brandon just pointed out, that go back. But as far as I can tell, the original root is supposed to be Rosicrucian.
Yeah. And the tough part about the term Rosicrucian is that it's one of those corrupted and then revamped, and there's so many small little LARPing Rosicrucian Disney character groups out there that so it's such a fascinating, the Rosicrucian thing, which is then why I like, we'll just hone in on, if people really want to go find that, Agrippa did such a great work, and that's from the 1500s. About 1563 he was doing that work at the same time as being persecuted from the church, and then he ended up having to rewrite basically that he has a whole book apologizing that Dan Trell helped, I believe it was Dan Trell helped retranslate, which is quite amazing.
What was the name? Dionysi the Aprigate, or no?
Yeah.
So it was in that vein. But let me ask a question here. Do you think the Catholic Church is more likely to have built those magnificent cathedrals, or someone who thought like Agrippa?
Oh, somebody who thought like Agrippa, for sure.
Well, there it is. And you could ask
for
anyone
sure.
that. And what you're looking at there is technology we can't replicate. Why?
Yeah.
Because it's not technology in the way we think about it. It is facilitating the truths of nature. It's not inventing anything per se. It's recognizing what nature does and giving it a way to come to us or to be appreciated by us.
I agree. Yeah, no, I completely agree, because it's like a lot of this stems from, especially the music, the harmony of the spheres, the planetary spheres, stemming from Pythagoras, and him creating music and understanding harmony and beauty, which then we can see in our everyday modern period of how trash music is and why they're trying to invert everything we see, hear, taste even. It's all toxic and trash, trying to bring us down into this mundane, barren planet, right? Yeah.
Well said. And your mind precedes all. Never forget it. Your mind precedes every experience. And what your mind is busy doing is busy forming the next step in the staircase you're ascending. And when you get 2 people thinking about it, that stair gets built a lot quicker. And when you get 1 million people thinking about it, 5 stairs are made at once. And this is the game we played, because we have not been taught about the other 2/3, spirit and soul. We've been taught about body. We've been taught about hypermaterialism. We've been taught how to get along in a system where we can be good workers, but nothing about the system itself. And that's where we are now. We are at the turning point. That's all going to end. All these low vibrational systems that we have existed in our whole lives, those are busy dissolving into whatever comes next. But the thing is, we help shape what's next. But if you listen to the news and your TV, it will convince you in ways you don't even recognize to go the wrong way, basically. Think the wrong thoughts, to have fear, to engage in low vibrational activities. What's that old saying? Every act is a vote for the kind of world you want to live in. And that is true of every thought.
Yeah. Since I moved, I haven't gotten cable. And I've been here for about 1.5 years. Literally. If I use anything, it'll be like YouTube on my TV. And honestly, I guarantee you, if I had cable, my show would even reflect that and be completely different than it was in the last year.
For sure.
That shit is fucking brain rot.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to add too, just to throw this in real quick, for people interested in the occult or Hermetic Kabbalah. A lot of the names, I'm sure Judith probably even noticed it, maybe even thought of the Kabbalah too. When he mentioned like the thrones and the cherubim, the seraphim, and even the Orphanim, a lot of those like things of angels and stuff even is attributed to the spheres on the tree of life, and those will also have in the Hermetic Kabbalah will also have planets associated with them. So you'll even see there that the planet will even be associated kind of with that angel as well in that sense. So that was very interesting how you brought it up in that way, and I've seen it kind of redone in another practice. So
well, it's a bit mystifying that we look up and we've been taught that those are planets. It's basically rock or gas in an orbit somewhere, but we can see the energy, particularly with stars, and we don't consider that's energy, right? You can see it's a color, it's a brightness, it's all these things. That's energy, and we need to start thinking more in this direction. And years ago, I took a picture. I think it's Arcturus. Rose, I know you probably don't have it, but if you do have the Arcturus clip, you could put that up. And I took it out of focus. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes. And I took it out of focus. And the reason you take it out of focus is because you can see the cymatic pattern of the energy and the colors associated. If she finds it, there will be a hole in the middle of the star when I defocus. The reason is because I'm using a Schmidt-Cassegrain telescope that has a rear and a front reflecting lens. A different kind of telescope, that hole wouldn't be there. But the point is, most people didn't pay attention, but now all kinds of people are doing it. Unfortunately, they're not always getting it right because they show a defocused star and say, see, NASA's been lying to you. This is what a star looks like. Truly, with a powerful telescope, it is pretty much a point of light that is pulsating and colorful, changing colors. Some of them a little less so. But when you defocus or overfocus, then all these cymatic patterns, like it's underwater, emerge and you can see. But anyhow, I don't think she planned to have that clip, but who knows what
I have it ready. It's up now.
I bet. There we go.
Antares, the heart of the scorpion. Sorry. So what you're seeing here is I do it both ways. I'll show it to you defocused. This is defocused, showing the cymatic patterns. As that hole in the center gets smaller, I'm focusing, and I'll focus it down to a point. I hope this is
an iris, your pupil.
So when it gets down to a point, I'll tell you, getting closer, 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 closer. So this is actually what a star in focus looks through an 8-inch telescope. Okay, that's the truth. But look, that's energy, isn't it?
Wow. So when you bring it closer, there's actually a black thing in front of it?
No. That's
the
telescope has a reflecting mirror, this type of scope in the front and the back. So when I defocus, it creates that hole in the image. If I had a different kind of scope, that hole wouldn't be there.
The only reason I'm bugging out is because I talk about having an experience, like whatever these experiences crossing the abyss. Maybe people want to argue that, whatever. To me, whatever. I will have a dot, like, I'll have my eyes closed and I'll be meditating, and it will look like something very much like that all the way out in the distance. And as it gets closer and starts to appear, it turns into an eclipse. So that just blew my mind. Yeah. So that just blew my mind how I just kind of saw it backwards right there.
So this is an interesting still that she just had up, because that's a still. What was that little blast of energy? This is when I first got my telephoto lens, and I wanted to see how powerful it was. So I took an image of a bird a couple 100 feet away. But this is Antares, the heart of the scorpion. So
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Little blob there. That's a still. So that little energy. See, if I would have moved the camera, the whole thing would be blurry. It looks like I did move it a little, but there's a lot of work that can be done. I don't think I've seen anyone park a decent sized scope on a star for 4 or 5 hours at a time. Anyone who does that is going to walk away with amazing things if they put time into it.
Crow, I think Ethan wanted to jump in. I saw him.
I'm sorry.
No, I apologize for trying to interrupt. I'm being interruptive. What is that tail looking like swirl off of the last image? Is that just because there was movement?
Well, that's the funny thing. If you look at the main bulge, it looks like I did move a little, but that little streak is further than it appears I moved the camera. So that would be a little energy fissure or something.
Interesting. I was going to ask too, you mentioned the firmament, and you hypothesized that perhaps the wave might be the firmament. Maybe could you explain on that further? Is it maybe the edge of this energy field that is maybe the firmament?
Well, I mean, you bring up the question, what is the firmament? For that idea, what is the shape of the continent I'm standing on? Well, we can all sit here and guess, and it's one of the things we've got to refigure out. The first time we went to space, we should have known exactly what everything looks like from high. Well, we didn't go there, so maybe a high altitude plane, but the firmament is something, right? And the original word seems to translate to something firm, right? If you look it up, rocky or whatever the Hebrew is. So I don't know. People say crystal, people say energy, people say a lot of things, but I know that a wave has to travel through a medium. So that's how I'm thinking. Unfortunately, I don't know certainly what the medium is. And by the way, it's a total guess. I'm saying, what could the wave be going through? And that's my best guess.
I can show a clip I have of the difference between the lunar wave and jet wash from a plane. Do you want to?
Oh, yeah, nice.
A lot of people say to this day it's jet wash, and they just look very different.
Yeah.
Plus, you can see planes.
I think that there might be. I don't know how to remove the audio the way I'm sharing it, so I apologize if you have to wait to respond.
The waves go by, and you pick what I'll call.
Oh, I can mute it actually.
Nice.
So there's the first wave, and there's going to be another.
That shit is crazy.
Real waves come in pairs for some reason.
Well, that's crazy. It's almost like the waves in and out of the ocean on a beachfront, how it just kind of moves itself forward and backward.
Well, it displaces. Pick one of those craters and watch it. The wave displaces what you're looking at twice.
Yeah.
Like a straw going through drinking glass. See that? It's weird.
Oh, God. Yeah. Here it is.
I did a clip on that where I zoomed in on it. Okay, this is a different wave coming from the top. There's the first. There's the second.
Damn.
Whoa.
And there's jet wash.
Oh, that's way different. I mean, that can't even be seen as anywhere near.
People still argue it along with the.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
People argue a lot of things. I want to touch on the firmament idea that you had. You slightly brought it up, and then Ethan kind of re-brought it up. But this idea of when you were talking about all the different planes of experience and that great chain of being and that firmament being between the earth and the moon or whatever it is, I like the idea. I think maybe this has been an idea in secret societies and magical societies for a long time, is that to get past that into the higher spheres, you have to do the work and be able to basically transcend certain, or hit a different frequency. If consciousness is like the initial thing and everything is stemming from that, it only makes sense that then to travel amongst the stars, you would have to be in a different state of consciousness. And to do so, you have to be able to fine tune your nervous system, brain connection, to be able to then use your breath to do so, because that's like the magic word of all things is breath. And so it's such a fascinating thing to think about, something I've thought about for a long time. And I love that you brought it up because of that idea to be able to interact with the higher levels all the way to God.
Elegant, right? We're not doing anything to you. You were low vibration, so you went where low vibration is. It has nothing to do with us. You decided to sit there and watch the news for 3 lifetimes.
Yep. That's, I think, and there's something to that with the whole hero's journey, finally accepting the call to adventure. Right. Because if you think about it, if you're the one who trapped yourself in matter to be able to have to learn the game, obviously it would only make sense that you're the only one who can, as they say, drag yourself out of the cave and into the light.
There it is. And it's so elegant because basically you do what you do and it puts you where you do. It's not someone else, but unfortunately some very clever dark side beings have figured out how to get you to believe in, look at, and participate with the wrong set of tools if you want your vibration to go up.
Yeah. And then it goes back to the idea of revelation of the method being, there is still karma involved in all things that we do. And so those dark sorcerers, they think by revealing what they're doing in signs, symbols, movies, TVs, everything that's going on, that they're somehow maybe like clearing themselves of some kind of fucking karma that they're doing.
I think they're more slaved out than we are.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Yes.
Out to dark stuff, and I think that dark stuff misleads them and takes advantage, just like they try to do to us. The point is that we've come to the threshold. We're doing a new era here. It's criminally sad where I don't try to think about it too much, the number of people who lost the game in 2020 and beyond. But like,
I agree.
If you're going to put yourself in a low vibrational state, you'll probably be living where low vibration lives. So maybe it's a do-over. I don't know, but they did a lot of damage. It's just sneaky that they got you to do the damage to yourself.
Yeah.
But they stepped a little further that time, didn't they? The coercion is palpable. And if you want to say that we didn't violate universal karma because you did it to yourself, and then you coerced people with their jobs, I think you're treading on thin thing. And if you want to say, what are you talking about? We put it in that movie. And I said, where? Right there. And I'm all, where? Right there. Oh, there? That was your big notification that I was supposed. Well, your subconscious saw it.
Yeah.
You know, these are flimsy little things, but it doesn't matter. We've got the divine spark of life, and we have free will, and we are now coming to the point where the battery's getting charged, and there are going to be a lot of people who aren't falling for the same old generational BS. That's just a fact, and they're getting scared. And in that, when you see things like this data dump, you've got to wonder, are they really going to throw the truth out like that and just hope we don't do something about it? Or do they have some big, terrible thing coming right behind it to drag our minds off that and have to contend with something else? I don't know the answer, but the time is to focus. The time is to quit biting the fish hook. Those days need to go away.
What is your, just real quick, I mean, I questioned these files too. I'm assuming you're just not believing them as at face value, correct?
Of course not.
It doesn't matter if they're true or not. They've shown people with power and fame abusing the most weak of the human beings. They've shown it. They've admitted it. If any one of you did that, you'd already be behind bars. What's the deal?
That's the one crazy thing that I do think. I mean, I didn't go through it too much, but what I did see, I was just like, how did we see this and nobody's getting arrested?
I'm not participating in the revelation of method.
Just like something ain't right with this shit.
What happens when you see something like that that's so shocking, and then you see it tomorrow, and then you see it the next day, and then you see it the next week, the next month? The shock that you first felt is long gone, and that is part of the revelation of method. So
it's
30
it's
years
like pornographic.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly.
30 years in the future, people are conducting themselves like that because the Overton window moved to the right, and now it's normal. That's part of what we're looking at. If somebody doesn't pay the piper, then the consequences will be paid, and we pay those consequences.
I would even say, I've said this before, I've said it about the atomic bomb, and I even said it about Charlie Kirk. I think all that shit was done on TV to fucking like traumatize, really.
Of course.
The atomic bomb or some people.
They put the whole Charlie Kirk thing in a movie 10 years before it happened.
Right. Snake Eyes, right?
Yeah,
one of my favorite movies of all time, and then all this happens, and you're like, what? Oh, yeah, I've seen that before. It's so...
And they put Erica Kirk on a zip line going past the clock with the date that was the event. You know, it's laughable. And we sit here, this is part of the problem and why you should follow Michael Hoffman. All the truthers are making the echo chamber, which helps the revelation of method along.
It does.
We scream and we point and we show evidence, and nobody does anything of consequence.
Yeah.
And thereby we normalize it.
That's why I don't cover really up-to-date topics anymore, because I'm like, even if I'm like showing you something, what the fuck's the difference? I'd rather like present a topic that might educate you on something else that matters. I can't all that anymore.
I don't want to wake up in a year and have those kinds of ideas be less insulting to me than they are this day.
True. No, it's true. And there's something fascinating to think about, back to what you were talking about of the people who are doing the revelation of the method. I'd like to go back to the symbol of Plato's cave, right? Most of us don't think about the people who are behind the prisoners on the wall, who are walking around, and their images and the things they do are what is reflected on the shadows. And those are the people in control, in power, the billionaire, techno-oligarch bloodline families who are, we don't think about them. And it comes even down to the more normie individual who just goes along to get along and doesn't, want to wake up from the thing. They're the more droning individuals who are like, every time you walk past them to get out of the cave, kicking and screaming, I might add, but we forget about them, and it's terrible almost,
It's a heck of a thing, but
Yeah.
I mean, here we are. We're at the threshold. I can guarantee you one thing for sure: changes here.
Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to mention, I think you kind of glossed over the Eric Dollard ideas that your telescope work seems to confirm. Can I give a spiel about that?
Go ahead.
Okay, so when I look at Crow's telescope work, to me it really looks like an egg, like an ovum, like we're looking at a shell. And although it is in the hydrogen alpha wavelength, so anyone can argue that in other wavelengths we might see different things that would imply different things. In this wavelength, it does look like the sun is hollow. And so that wouldn't be what the mainstream would say. And if you just look at these pictures of sunspots, like this is my favorite one here. I don't know why I think I have to end the video before I can put this up. But if you look at the sunspot, for me personally, just intuitively, when I look at this, it's proof positive that a sunspot is like a hole looking into some kind of tunnel. And Ccrow has another clip that I don't have uploaded here, where in video, when he was using his cell phone to look at his computer screen, it looked like there was these little explosions, these little sparks, which also reminded me of what people call the zinc spark of life, when fertilization happens and the single-celled zygote comes into existence, which, if you think about it, is a scientific thing that can be observed but not explained. How does that single-celled zygote come into existence? Well, a lot of people say, well, that's evidence to our quote-unquote godly origin. So that brings me back to the sun. And Eric Dollard, he's not even spiritual. He doesn't want to talk about religion. He doesn't care. He's just all about data. He doesn't even care about Crow's telescope work because it's just not his deal. He's just the electromagnetic engineer genius who says the sun is hollow and acts like a converter that is transmuting or converting energy, this life-giving energy, from some other place. So when you ask him what's the other place, that's where he'll shut down. And he's like, I don't know. But a lot of people might say that it's converting it from heaven or the other metaphysical realm, which a science can't measure, so they don't want to talk about it. So what I like about these unified field theories is that it's factoring in the metaphysical and spiritual realm that you guys are talking about today. And then we have people like Eric Dollard and Crow's telescope work, which can explain science when we incorporate that which has been missing for so long.
Yeah, I think Dollard used the word counter space when we pressed him.
Do you think that somebody mentioned it in chat, and I was actually wondering the same thing. Do you think that black stuff might be like magnetism?
Well, what the
Almost like
mainstream will tell you is it's a bit cooler right there, and there's a lot of electromagnetic energy, and they can show the measurements that do it. But to me, I mean, we're looking at wavelengths, and exactly what Rose said is true. When you're looking at the sun, the amazing thing is if you slightly change the wavelength, like this view you see here was shot in what's called the G band. It's like just barely a couple clicks off what that image was shot with, but look how different the view is if you took a still out of the other one. And by the way, just so you know, all these images are real except for the color. I put the color in. I film in black and white because that's how you get the best detail. But the point I'm making with the sun, to change the wavelength even slightly really can change the view of what you're doing. So in the wavelength I am filming in, it looks like the absence of illuminating energy. But I agree with Rose. I think we're looking at an outer shell. And the mainstream will tell you that we're wrong and that what's actually going on is there's a nuclear furnace down in there.
Ooh.
And that's how they get to tell their story, that the sun's going to die someday and we're all going to, it's going to swell up till it swallows every planet and blow up and humans will die. And, the stories.
Right, yeah.
Well, first of all, I don't know anyone that's 1 billion years old. Do you?
No. What do they say? Give me one great miracle and I'll give you the rest.
I wonder what your observations were relative to 3i Atlas and its interaction with the energy of the sun. I recently saw there was some correspondence with the sun as it went by.
There, with all the comets that go near it do. I think some of them break up, but the comets are another thing that I think are nonsensically described. But I didn't pay a lot of attention to that. With the way that I work, like I spent all those years on the moon, and I started to realize with the sun, and I again accidentally filmed what I call the so-called second sun, and I just intuitively knew the sun's going to be a big deal in the era change. So I shifted all my energy over there, and so it takes so much effort and time and know-how and tedium to get this kind of footage. You'll find that I become very one track, and you can ask Rose, and people say, you got all these tools, why didn't you look at the comet? It's like, you really don't have any idea. For me to film the 4 hours that took to get this, there was 2 hours of setup, there was 3 or 4 on the backside getting the data transferred, and then all the production time. I mean, you're talking a lot of hours just for a clip like this, and I just kind of keep focused. So it's not much of an excuse, but this is what I'm looking at right now. If something else really kicks me between the eyes, I may, pay attention. But for the most part, I'm trying to just remain focused on this and still have a little bit of life to live with my wife.
Nice. Can you explain to us the second sun theory?
Do you have the footage, Rose?
Yes, I will get it ready in just a moment. Give me
you.
20 seconds.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
So years ago, I was filming with the Canon camera, full spec, that I was telling you about at night with the moon. And I would get bored after 5 hours looking at the moon and filming nothing. So I'd start scanning the sky, and I kept finding this patch of light. And I did it time and time again. I could never figure out, what is that? And it was a big patch of light, much bigger than the moon. I thought, is that the full moon? Because most of the time it was a full or near full moon. Is that reflecting off the firmament? It was about a third of the sky away from the moon, and I found it time and again. Well, cut to the chase. I got this nowhere near as good solar scope for the first time in 2014, and I was filming the sun. And I thought about that, so I went to go scan around, and lo and behold, I found another object that looks just like the sun, wouldn't focus quite as well as the sun, was slightly smaller. And I had thousands and thousands of hours of moon telescope time, but maybe not even 100, or very little time on the solar. So I didn't want to talk out of school.
Is my footage.
So here's the footage that the first discovery of the so-called second sun. Watch the top of the frame. That's the sun we see. That's lens flare. That's lens flare, sun we see. Sun we see. Little lens flare coming in there. Watch the top of the frame. See that thing go by up there?
Mm-hmm.
Keep watching. I saw it, and I'm like, what the heck was that? There's the sun we see with our eyes. The one we know. Oh, what's that other object up there?
Huh. And that's not lens flare. That's a whole spherical sun. That's like a red or...
So I did everything. You'll see it dims out. I put my hand over the light block. I did everything. Well, as fate would have it, another man, Chris Van Maitre, in 2016 replicated this, and it was in a different place. I think it was down below the sun. This was above the sun. But that's not even the kicker. This is the kicker. In the same year, 2016, the SLU Observatory had an astronomer streaming with a hydrogen alpha telescope the sun, because Mercury was going to transit, and they wanted to show the young people. Problem is, that object was damn near kissing the sun. Halfway through the stream, he says, I'll bet you're all wondering what that is. And this is what he said. I'm not kidding. You can look up the clip. He said, that is the second sun. NASA knows about it. They just don't want you to know about it. Later, there was a response that he was joking. But not only have I filmed what he was joking about, but who tells a joke like that to kids with a straight face? Right?
Yeah.
So there's the SLU Observatory. What I don't know is, like, some people are like the old occult idea that there are like crystal spheres going out, 7 or however many of them, right? Like the spiritual hierarchies, and that these are reflections on the next sphere up or something. There's all these ideas, but I've studied things like Sri Yukteswar and others
Hmm.
where they say there's a binary. They flat out say it, and that it comes so many thousand years. And in this era shift and in all the changes we see in the sun, it's become pale. It feels like it's more direct, but it doesn't seem to burn you as quick. All these changes, is it possible that there really is a binary? And while I kind of lean that way, if I want to be honest with you and me and everyone listening, which I do, I need to know a lot more. But
Yeah.
it's there. It's not a pipe dream. It is there. And it's not there all the time. And by the way, in my other footage that I'm doing recently, it looks to me like it's tucked behind our sun almost all the time.
That's fascinating. Huh. I wonder what that then could mean to like and do to our when if having two suns instead of one, if the sun is this conscious ball, this conscious being of electromagnetic energy, and it has this kind of thing. I wonder what that does to us as humans, and if it's also helping in this progression and this shift that's going on right now that we're in this cycle and this time of nature that we're in. I could only imagine it does something.
I think that was Gabora who was saying it past Tiferet.
Sorry, I was muted out again. Remember the film 2001: A Space Odyssey?
Yeah, of course.
Remember how good it looked and how crappy the story? No, I'm just kidding. But anyhow, there was a sequel to that movie called 2010.
Yeah,
I saw that.
At the very end of that, Roy Scheider does a little speech. My children will grow up in a world where there's two suns in the sky. Go listen to that soliloquy at the end. Yeah. And I've listened to it a few times, and there's just some kind of a resonance there. But the truth is, I just need to know more, which is why as soon as the ice thaws around here, I'll be back behind my scope trying to do what I can do.
Nice. Yeah, there's a movie out right now called, and it's based off a Chinese book, right? Three Body Problem, which I do recommend everyone to watch it, but the books are completely different, interesting enough, but it is, it could be one of those things. It comes into the collective unconscious. Somebody writes about it, and it's like as a warning for all of us, or trying to wake us up that there's more to our sun than we, can think about, let alone it being about disclosure.
Well, one thing's for sure, we got a front row seat to some very historical goings on.
Yeah.
And if we have the presence of mind not to remain angry or afraid, that would be a very good thing in helping steer things in the direction they need to go. But I mean, we're in the thick of it here. The whole world has just been shown the truth of atrocity. And if something is not done about that, the consequences that get paid will be on us and the way we live our lives in this period of time.
Yeah.
Jen, what's going on, sir? How are you?
What's up? Sorry about that, boss. I totally got the times wrong, but that is the problem. That is one of the caveats to obviously being an hour ahead of EST. So I definitely apologize for that. Google sometimes plays little tricks on me like that. Not your fault at all. Not anyone's fault. And I apologize to Crow and Rose. I was really looking forward to it. And I know that Nick was psyched for it for weeks in advance. So I apologize sincerely. But I did.
Who has joined us? I'm sorry.
My name's Jin. I have a show called Threshold Saints, and I'm a reject as well. Nick's left hand man.
I was going to ask, why did you guys get rejected?
That's a good question.
Well, I did have a follow-up since Nick did bring up Kabbalah, and I don't know if this got brought up earlier, but the idea of Tiferet being empty is actually a Kabbalistic idea. It fits perfectly because Tiferet would be a star, so it would be empty, considered empty. That doesn't mean that it doesn't have anything in it. It means masslessness and luminousness. So the idea that you could perhaps have a vacuum within it or a void as a hyperspace, maybe you could say gateway to travel upwards to higher conscious experiences into Dath and into Kether, meaning into Pluto or the eclipse, and then into the outer three. That would actually make a lot of sense for how someone could travel the tree. So I was just thinking to myself when Rose was showing the sun that actually Kabbalah explains pretty much that whole situation. If you want to think of it in processes of consciousness, I'm not saying it's perfect for an outer sort of a gross example, but for a metaphysics, I think it makes a lot of sense. And
Well, yeah, even the solar sigil looks like what he was showing with the circum.
yes,
Kind of.
yes, with the circumpunct, exactly.
Well, I like the idea, and I'll tell you something. I used to sun gaze a lot. And for people listening that's staring at the sun, don't do it unless you know what you're doing. You don't give jalapenos to babies, right? Similar thing going on there. Not a good thing. You can damage your eyes. But I got up to the point where I could do long stretches, but there is a equilibrium that hits at some point when you've been doing it a while and you've got your eyes locked on the sun and your bare feet are on the earth, and it starts to look like a portal. I mean, really, really starts to look like a portal. And you see the work of people like Monroe and others where they talk about, well, you better get your vibration above the moon or that thing's sucking you in. And then you see the movies where they show things exiting through the sun. It's interesting ideas. For sure, but I like the Kabbalah transfer over because that is some old information, and I like old information.
What are your thoughts on the objects going in and out of the sun?
I've never seen it, but I've seen a lot of people who don't quite get their cameras where a plane looks like a plane flies through the sun. That's just about how much light you're letting in. If you had that cranked way, way down, you would see the plane travel all the way across the disk. Even when it looks like when it comes out, even when it comes out the other side and it looks like it's pulling matter with it, you know what I mean? It looks like it pokes in the top, and when it comes out, it like stretches behind it a little bit. That's just crank down the aperture on your camera and it will fix that.
Sure.
I do actually have a follow-up. Sorry about that. A quick one.
Oh,
Crow, you said that you colored the image of the sun gold. I think that you said you colored it, and then I obviously assumed gold because that makes sense. That actually also makes sense in a Kabbalistic way. Now, the other thing that I thought was interesting was when Rose was showing the flare in radiochromatography, the sun actually appears as lime green. So it's actually an interesting kind of alchemical thing of chrysopia, meaning that there's a greening happening before the gold emerges. So I don't know if you had any thoughts on that, but
yeah, that would be dead center in the color spectrum, the green. And actually, the guys
Tiferet is harmony, right?
Yeah, the guys who are much more skilled at solar work than I am, because they're really good mathematicians and astronomers. They talk about going far to the right band, which is blue, or the left band, and there is the idea of green and green filters. But if you look at the color spectrum, that little sliver we see with our eyes, that green is dead center. I think that corresponds to the heart chakra, I think. So there is a whole correspondence there that I think you're getting at.
I was just thinking about the kanji next to Jin and how I've been working on my Japanese. And so the kanji for Jin would be in the word Friday, kinyobi, and the kin within kinyobi, meaning Friday, would mean gold. And so I just was looking up because I'm not familiar with Chinese Mandarin, but they're using in Japanese kanji, which comes from Chinese, to come to find that kanji represents gold. So I'm just wondering if that's why it was associated with Friday symbolically. But maybe I should ask Jin what he thinks, since he's the one who has the kanji on his name.
He wrote it.
Well, I am ethnic Chinese, as everybody on the panel knows. They've heard it 10 million times. I apologize. But yes, so the character next to my name is Jin, which is gold, but it actually refers to something interesting. I think you'll find it interesting, Rose, is that it actually refers to Aurelius, the process of gilding, rather than something actually being gold prior. So there's an inherent alchemical connotation to the character. It is the canopy of heaven with a sword descending down, or it can also be described as the lightning strike hitting the ground. And when the strike hits the ground, which is the bottom third stroke in the character, you see like two little pieces of earth sort of get dislodged. It's supposed to be like the shining of the metal revealed underneath.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, because that totally blows my mind, because that made me think of the word exalt. Okay. But when you talk about lightning, it's going down. But when I've talked to a lot of people about the fabric of our reality, like Luke and his divine emission theory, when people say as above, so below, he says, you know what? Actually, I say so below as above. So I don't know if that made sense, but that was
We're in control. I believe we are in control of our own realm. I believe that I know this is getting a little meta, a little speculative, but I personally believe we are in control of the human realm. I think that this is our realm to control. I think that there are people in the world that believe that that get like, you know, divine, certain religions that they believe in the angels really deeply, or they believe in these spirits really deeply, and they might even believe themselves to be communicating with them. But I believe that man is actually in control of our own realm, just as I believe man is in control of our own minds. And I think that we are agents of our own will, as Crow was saying. And I think that we get to decide what we believe. And I think that the things that happen down here actually have more metaphysical implication up, quote unquote, up there. And I think people put way too much emphasis on what happens in the higher worlds. And I don't even think they're higher. I think that's just a way to describe them, like in the hierarchy of worlds. But actually, I think our world is very high. Now, I'm a Tantric Buddhist, so Dharma agrees with this, that the rebirth in the human world is of the highest pinnacle. It does not mean that you are born like a god or anything like that, but that simply that we have choice, free agency, free will to live on this plane in the ways that we choose, in the ways that we want. So we can either be generative or we can be degenerative. And that's not obviously the only choices, but those are two major ones. So I would say that it has a lot to do with it. And interesting about the Friday, because in East Asian cosmology, Friday is actually associated with immortality, the god of Friday.
Which
and
is
he
cool.
often has a huge bulbous head. And he is in control of what's called the celestial peach garden. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but it is interesting that he is immortal.
It blows my mind, because how did the people, however many years ago, creating kanji know that Friday should be associated with gold, which is immortal, because gold doesn't tarnish? Like, how would they associate it correctly planetarily? And
well, I think that they were much closer related to the forces of nature, you know, like as we see with like Homer's Iliad and Odyssey and the works of the past. They didn't see gods as anything as like above them. They were unfolding within the cosmic drama. So every force in the world, they were able to kind of see as connected to everything. It's kind of like Julian James's work with the left-right brain, like not knowing that one was talking to themselves.
it had to be
And
meditation.
they didn't have
know that there were
machines
rings on
thinking.
Saturn.
Right. Yeah. Right.
We're getting to the point where we have machines thinking for us. They didn't have that either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't ever work out, right? Dune shows us the roadmap of where the world is going to go, the Butlerian jihad, and how we have to go away from that, right?
And how does he know to write about that in the 50s or wherever it was? I mean, that one thing that never really gets explained very well in the main thing, it's a huge deal. How could you have the foresight to think of such a thing?
Yeah, no, it's interesting, and that's a great question. This doesn't answer that question, but it is food for thought. Paul Stamets, the mushroom guru, right? He was friends actually with Frank Herbert, supposedly, or they spoke once, and Frank told Paul Stamets that the elixir water of life, which is the blue drink that he takes, which is the sandworm's spice, the ultra concentrated form, and it made him do the thing. That is actually him talking about a certain kind of psychedelic mushroom. That's his symbolic understanding of what that is. Interesting enough. And so if you do take enough of that, you do break into that DMT-esque experience with enough of it, and then you can see the very fabric of existence, right?
So the machine elves told him.
Well, that was great. Like, let's not add Terrence into this. He's got Terrence was definitely, doing his thing as well. So it's fascinating.
I was making a joke.
That's a good one. And it's true. It's interesting enough of how far we go, right? The machine elves, again, I think are just also covering over, because I've seen said elves. And I think they're just another layer of control and veil to the next level of something else. That's my own think, though, because the jester is keeping you away. Like when you take DMT, a lot of people see the jester. That jester can be known as like a guardian threshold barrier of letting somebody enter into that next thing, kind of like the firmament is allowing you to go up into the higher celestial spheres. And so there is this overlap into what our brain, mind, nervous system does to stop us from maybe having higher levels of experience that'll completely burn out our nervous system. So I think.
Did anybody have any other questions or anything? Judith, did you have anything? No? Okay. There's something I was going to say and I totally forgot. Oh, one thing I did want to mention with Friday real quick. Friday is associated with green. Not necessarily gold, but I mean, then again, you'd be going back to Jin's idea with the picture and it being green. Find that interesting.
Right. I do have one more thing to add. Rose, should we show the Riccioli 1651 artwork?
Yes, I do think we should. Let me bring that up.
So Jason and I just recorded. I did a whole episode on this image. People who follow know that I appreciate what Tycho Brahe did.
Nice.
And I appreciate good artwork, particularly if there's level of meaning in it. So we put down 2 hours to go over Riccioli, who was all about Tycho Brahe. Although he did modify in this image, he took it upon himself to modify the so-called orbits of Saturn and Jupiter, different than Brahe had. But it's really quite an image, and it is dense with levels of meaning. I'm sure that I didn't describe everything's there. I did what I could. But this is from a book called Almagest Nuovo, which for the first time has been translated into English. So I ran out and got a hot copy. But what you're looking at here, maybe we'll go from the top down. There's actually 3 sevens above the hand of God there, believe it or not. There's Latin, much of it scriptural, but there's a scale below God's hand. Astrea, the goddess, is holding the scale, and then the 100-eyed Argus is on the other side. Under the scale is Claudius Ptolemy, and his little model is at the bottom, discarded, about to roll out of frame. But the scale is weighing 2 models. On the left, we have the Copernican model that we use now, and on the right, we have Tycho Brahe's model, but the Riccioli, the Jesuit priest who commissioned this and directed it, changed the orbit of Saturn and Jupiter to go around Earth instead of the way Tycho had it. But it's basically the Tychonic model. But this artwork is just so exquisite with so many levels of meaning. And it is artwork of this kind that influenced me to make my episode images. I don't know if anyone's noticed, but all these episode images either have a puzzle or levels of meaning. Yeah. That I originally started to do because I realized AI can't figure this out all the way like a human being can. Even some of them are simple with just arrows to show you where to go. But that idea came from this time when very learned individuals just packed levels of information in.
Nice.
You're a fan of Tycho Brahe, bro?
I'm sorry?
You're a big fan of Tycho Brahe?
I think it's the most valuable thing that we've been handed forward. I don't agree with all of it, but it's much more valuable to me than is the Copernican model.
No, I like him too. I covered him on the show by myself. It was a very interesting character. Very.
Did you read his biography by any chance?
No, well, not all of it, but I did use some of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting read. That guy had quite a little action-packed life.
Yeah.
But it's known that he denied Kepler access to the data, and he denied everybody. And there are rumors that Kepler had to do with his death. But let me ask you, he hires Kepler to help do some math. Kepler doesn't even know how to use his tools, never did observation. Somehow Tycho dies and he walks away with the data and the instruments.
I've thought that too. Because I covered.
I mean, that's like Columbo saying, "Who was the last person that saw him alive?" Right?
Yeah, no, it's very, very shady. I think the family even tried taking a Kepler to court to stop him from even using the shit.
Yeah, I think that the image that Rose just showed you is the Jesuit order, who were among the most educated men, telling each other that we're going to give them the Copernican model, but we all know that Tycho's better. They say in the modern era that that's propaganda. Well, propaganda has to be recognized by the masses, and nobody spoke Latin. Nobody was educated in all the Greek myth. Nobody, it's ridiculous. It's reverse propaganda. Yeah. I think it's a hoodwink to the learned men to comprehend that there's more value in Tycho than what we're handing to everyone else.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe.
Yeah, I like that. Can you explain to the people who don't know or listen to your show what your idea of the sky clock?
It's just when I used to go on and talk, I recognized that certain topics, if you say the wrong word, you lose a lot of minds. And one of the problems was if I wanted to talk about astronomy, the astrologers would leave. And if I wanted to talk about astrology, the astronomers would leave. And I recognized that the language was doing it. So I invented a word called sky clock, and it worked. I recognized that people weren't leaving because the baggage attached to the word didn't enter the conversation.
Yes, that's smart. Yeah, that's like you recreating they're called neologisms. It's like you creating your own words to get around the semantic baggage that happens with what's going on.
It's kind of like the spiritual hierarchies, right? That guy in the 1700s said, wait a minute, I want to use new labels here that forces people in a spiritual direction. And everybody reads the Bible or knows about the Bible. So I will use those words. And it's genius to me. So I'm just copying some guy.
Nice. Nice. And you're re-showing us all the magnetism off the sun there. What I think is interesting about this is it looks like a bunch of little like hairs.
You know what's
going around, right?
Pupil in your iris.
And pupil in the iris. There you go. That's exactly it.
Yeah. You know what's interesting is that have you ever heard of Robert Flood, bro?
Yes.
He's got some kind of in some of his books where it looks like he's drawing the eyeball. Some of his drawings look a little kind of close to that. If that blackness was a little bit more circular,
it wouldn't surprise me if it was looking at us.
Yeah, he's got some weird drawings in that. Dude, I don't know, might interest you.
In my view, we have a lot of work to redefine. And when I say, we need to throw everything out, that's a very general statement. We know a lot of things that are useful, but we need to buff it out and kick down the walls, in my view. We shouldn't say, I'm a scientist, there's no room for spiritual ideas here. To me, back in Tycho Brahe's time, there was no difference between astronomy and astrology. Zero.
Yeah.
That man was so admired that the kings wanted him to draw charts for them.
Yeah.
And by the way, Tycho Brahe never had a telescope. It was just about to be invented. When he died, they invented it. And he refined these manual tools that his data to this day is still valid. And Copernicus and Kepler, they used all his work, 777 stars. He refined and refined and refined. And he did that close to nature, right? There's no ingenious lens or something. He's using tubes and pendulums and, carpenter's tools. And look how accurate his stuff was. And, King said, hey, I'm getting ready to go start war with these guys. Can you draw me a chart? And they fought to get that information from him because he had included a wider swath of the creation, not just the material stuff.
Yo, he literally had stuff. I'm sure you probably know this, but I'm just reiterating it for other people that don't know. Like then he had like these domes that he had shit that was like stuck into the ground and into the walls. So like even the wind wasn't fucking it up when he was like trying to look through like these wooden things that he was making to try to look at the sky.
He realized there was aberration from the firmament. He realized that looking at light through the firmament offset it a little bit. And by the way, did you know that was the biggest observatory in the world, supposedly?
Yeah, the Uranoborg, or however you say that shit. And then he had
Uranoborg, the muse of astrology, of astronomy, Urania, which a lot of people think Urania is in that image, by the way. I mean, the idea fits, but I'm reasonably sure it's Astrea, Virgo.
That guy, he was huge he treated everybody on that island too, like with tinctures and herbs. Like he was.
That's the thing you don't hear about. See, when you take medicine, like Fortune is a guy, when you take that kind of remedy-based medicine based in nature and you know how to time it to the sky clock, you're shooting nuclear weapons that aren't nuclear. It's a whole other ball game. I've seen people cured of things that I grew up believing could not be cured. I've been told by people everything is curable except, retardation of certain kinds, brain injuries, but many of the things that I have been told aren't curable. It's not true. The body heals itself if you do the right things.
I came across stuff where he even had stuff supposedly. I mean, this is what the source was saying, that even like some of his things around the castle where he planted like stuff, like I guess flowers or herbs, that they were even done like in chunks and planetary. Like these are all the ones associated with Saturn. These are all the ones with Jupiter. Like he even had that growing around the castle.
You can still get at that. There are still people that have the knowledge. Like if you take a sun plant, like I think, gosh, I got to remember correctly. I think sage, which is one of the herbs I like and grow, is a sun plant. I remember cannabis is Saturn and maybe Neptune. I forget. It's a couple, but each plant has its correspondent to a luminary. And when you begin to know that, think about this. So, and I don't want to mention again after this, but the data don't, right? I told you it's revelation. It's an alchemical procedure, and we're all being initiated right now. But when did it start? In the spring, right? Real big alchemical productions begin at the spring equinox, a lot of them, and they're timed out that way. So this is what's been denied us. And actually, I have read completely believable and acceptable accounts from secret societies that swear up and down the naming of Mercury and Venus was swapped so that nobody could get it down to the second because of the power that it allowed them to access. And it's not described very well. So you're thinking, well, wait a minute. Does that mean the planet got swapped or just the name got swapped? And I think they're saying just the name, but I read it in more than one place. And Steiner said it, I think, too. So think about that. If that's true, back then, someone was so worried that they could line the sky clock up for some procedure that would be so powerful they needed to swap the name so they wouldn't get it on the money. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. They've done that with, I think, like magicians and their grimoires and different things do that same kind of swapping, so people don't get to the true secrets, so the power doesn't land in supposedly wrong hands.
Well, you can have the potatoes, but you're not getting the meat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah, nice, fascinating.
Yeah.
I actually had a quick follow-up to the Uranian comment. Well, there is one way, Crow, to sort of map the tree in Kabbalah so that Keter, the top sphere, which represents unity, is matched with, so not equivalent to, but is, you can say, is linked with Uranus in our cycle. So in our current cycle, it would be Uranus. Uranus has a turquoise and a pink color as far as passage goes. Knows, but that
you're breaking up a little bit. Can you guys hear him okay?
No, it sounds like he's muffled.
No, yeah, you're muffled.
Sorry about that.
I didn't know if you said Urania or you were referring to the so-called
Uranus.
Okay.
Uranus.
What's wrong with my no? I'm making a joke, but I'm sorry.
Uranus can be described as related to the highest Sephira, which is Keter. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
It's your mic. I think it might be messed up right now for a second.
Give me a second.
It's modulating.
Yeah, it's going like in and out.
It's the tech archons. They've got you. They're gonna hold you, Jin.
Yo, I feel like recently with StreamYard, somebody always has a mic problem.
There's something wrong with Uranus.
There's something wrong with Uranus.
I'm sorry. It was a low blow. I couldn't resist. I was being serious.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
stop.
good.
No, really. I want to.
No,
I want
please.
to hear what he's saying because he's relating it to something that's it's got some weight behind it.
Yeah.
I apologize for the low brow joke.
Oh, that was great.
We're all about low bar jokes here.
Oh yeah, for sure. Don't worry about it.
Are you there, Jen?
Oh, maybe not.
Is it resolved or no?
He's
Sorry,
Yes,
can you?
He's
Is that better?
like-
oh, there we go.
For a minute, I
Nice.
thought you really were
Okay.
one of the rejects. Apologize.
So there is.
Sometimes I find that if you leave and come back, it resolves the issue.
Yep.
If you want to
Yeah.
leave and come back, I can show a UFO footage from him. This is-
Sure.
I've done that, Jen. You should give it a try. So it's worked for me before. All right, I'm not going to tell jokes. He was saying something.
No,
serious.
it's totally fine. I'm glad that people bring levity to the situation. It's the best way to deal with technological issues for sure. And
Yes.
obviously, I am a jokester on the show, as everybody who watches the show knows. I try and drop bars.
It's just like low hanging fruit when you bring.
Yeah,
up your
exactly.
Jen, your mic is still messed up. You
Your
might
mic still sucks,
Okay,
bro.
let me go and come.
Let's see the UFO stuff.
please.
FOU VGP.
All right.
Okay, so this is a short I recently made, and so I'm very glad because he has these amazing videos from 10 years ago that nobody sees anymore because people's attention spans have gone down. So now finally people are seeing it again because I chopped it down.
Mhm.
Here we go.
I shot this before it was dark one night. It wasn't all the way dark, and it's a craft with 3 thrusters on it.
Oh, what?
Okay, wait. I put the maybe I picked the wrong one.
Uh-oh.
Showing. Okay, this is you just explaining close-ups of it, but darn it, I picked the wrong short to share.
You don't have it?
No, I can just get the regular video. Hold on here.
Okay.
Pro, and then we're gonna click on the channel, and then we're gonna click on the search and go to the rest of it.
Crow, just real quick. Do you think that all of the UFO / orb sighting / all this nonsense is military industrial complex DARPA stuff, or do you think any of it has any merit to actually being interdimensional beings?
Let me come at it this way. You're in the middle of the desert, 20 miles from anywhere, and you come across a shack. There's no footprints, no indication anyone walked up to the building. You go inside, and there's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on the table. Who put it there?
Probably somebody from the military industrial complex.
Well, I know human beings make peanut butter and jelly, so I'm going with that.
Okay, good. I like that. I'm using that from now on. Okay.
It works, right?
No, that's great. That's great.
I'm
Yes, of
actually
course.
lying. I know for a fact that it's beings from another dimension. They love jelly.
Yeah.
So you can see the 3
Like,
thrusters right there, right? This thing just kept falling and falling. And by the way, I'm on my 8-inch telescope, and they're not made to track moving things. So I'm doing this by hand.
Holy shit.
And it's reversed and flipped, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I lose it a couple times, but I do get a pretty good shot at it. And it's absolutely a craft of some kind with 3 discernible thrusters blasting.
Yeah, you can see
Almost
it
like
blasting.
the whole Apollo hoax. It looks like that. Like the little lander thing with 3 thrusters.
So that could be like a satellite from another thing, or are we thinking it's an in and of itself? We don't know. It's
Posted this. Everyone and their brother tried to match it with launches and everything. As far as I know, nobody found anything. But I mean, if it is the military-industrial complex, that would be expected, right?
Yeah, or China. China's got all kinds of stuff up there that no one ever wants to talk about.
So they say, yeah. Here's the inverted image. So now the thrusters are black. Oh, we got Jim back.
Jen.
Are you there, Jen?
Yes. How is my mic now?
Ah, there you go. You sound intelligible.
Yeah, that was bad. Thank you, Jen. Appreciate it.
I was going to plug it into AI know.
So, Jen, do you want to ask him that question?
It's not really a big deal. I just was trying to tie into Uranus and Tiferet because there is a way to sort of connect them if you associate Uranus with Keter. So you could say that there is like sort of interchange that happens between, like there's a path between them. So it's like it would be described in Dion Fortune as a salmon fish or pink color. So I just thought that's kind of interesting too, because if you're thinking in aeonic cycles, you would consider the green and pink to be aeonic. So that kind of slime green, as we were talking about, as the color of the sun, which is how it appears in radiochromatography, and then the pink from Uranus or Heather. So I just think that there's like a straight up, like Kabbalistic sort of like working here. It seems like it is suggesting that it is what Ccrow is suggesting, in the sense that, like, I do think these are processes of consciousness that we are seeing unfold maybe alchemically in the universe, and maybe it's giving us like a hermeneutic, like a tool to understand how we can also get there. I don't necessarily think we can get there in like a spaceship, but I think we can actually get there in maybe what is called like the Merkaba or the Hecalot, like the chariot sort of like way to travel.
Are all the luminaries represented in Kabbalah, even like Neptune and Uranus that we didn't know about back then?
No, those two are known in different things. It stops, technically it stops in Hermetic Kabbalah. Those are they're, what are they? They're how the sun moves around. There's something else. I don't remember exactly what they are, but they're not in the Tree of Life itself, technically.
Because the old idea of the seven in the old like natural sciences, or what people call alchemy, the ones we could see with our eyes, that system is very tight when you do something simple like, again, the colors broken out of white light. You know, it's typically 7 of them, 7 days in a week, these ideas. But the same people who use these systems recognize Uranus. They just say that it's not really a major influence quite yet on where we are. I don't know whether that's right or wrong, but I was interested to find out if that very old system included those luminaries before we supposedly knew about them.
No.
There definitely is a way to map the outer 3 planets to Kabbalah. Now, people find this very contentious, but I don't really. I think that Hokmah, it can be described as Neptune. I think Keter can be described as Uranus. I think that it can also be described as Rahu and Ketu. Now, I know people will say that Rahu Ketu exist at the moon and the sun, but I think that that is also what makes this conversation interesting, because then there is sort of a replication of what happens in the lower world than in the higher world. So there's maybe, like, Nick has often spoken of his eclipse and crossing the abyss experiences. So I think that there is that same kind of, I think maybe there are multiple crossing the abyss experiences. Maybe there are multiple times or positions on the tree that people go through certain kinds of thresholds or gateways and like reach other sort of states of consciousness. So that would actually make total sense, especially if you were traveling on the middle path, which would be through Tiferet all the way up to Keter. And then so you would experience less of the sort of malefic nature of Saturn or Neptune, which are both malefics. And I think that people way underestimate the sort of nature of Neptune. Neptune is of the nature of the imaginal, meaning that is often people will talk about drawing things down, like ideas, narratives, words, stories in particular, and placing them together in a grammar. So they will take like sort of like deity forms or mythologies and sort of rearrange them and reposition them to be expressed in the world, that then people will sort of take on as new religious formations. And because they have the nature of Neptune, they tend to be very extreme. They tend to be very much about millenarianism, saviorism, and sort of the way that how to change the world, things to how to change the world, like utopian or dystopian ideas. So I would say that what you're saying is more interesting to me simply because it sort of removes those things as a factor.
Well, yes, I'm sorry, go ahead. Well, there's an interesting point of view, like on the malefic idea of Saturn. I have seen it expressed in this way. Where we are, Saturn's absolutely a malefic. But then if you go back to like the idea of King Saturnus and the original founding of Rome, the idea is that was a golden age under Saturn. And the reason is because if you don't have all these lessons to learn and you're doing it all good, then the opposite of Saturn becomes true. The idea kind of being that we have all these things to get right, and we're going to get wrapped on the knuckles until we do something along those lines.
Yeah, I think it's something important to remember, like the individual amongst it, when we're speaking in an astrological sense, that how we as an individual in our charts move in the world actually matter to the just as much as what the planets represent in and of themselves. Because them representing things in and of themselves is really tough without the individual amongst everything on that chart. So, interesting enough.
Rose, did we have anything else that we should show?
Well, I do have examples of the wave going over Jupiter and Saturn from the Take Back Space channel. I wasn't sure if people wanted to see that, since that's another example of the wave going over something other than the moon. I don't know if
Do you
there's
have any of the FOUs or?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, if you want to show more of your work, there's the.
I think they want to see the waves, Rose, but yeah.
Let's see it.
We could do it all. We
Let's
can
do it
show
all.
the waves, and then we can show the plasma shooting orb and the chem bomb.
Carte blanche, mang.
Let's do it. That's why we're here.
Someone bring a bib. I'll take my lobster without butter after all the Uranus talk.
Oh wait, that's okay. So while I'm bringing this up, why don't you tell them this is heartwarming that Crow has gone to the supermarket and bought lobsters to bring back to the ocean, and that.
Nice.
Seems like the right thing to do.
So you saved the lobsters. You saved the lobsters.
50 pounds at a time once.
You did, really?
Yeah. People were looking at me like, that dude's got a complete feast and he's throwing it in the ocean. So get this. I'm going down, and for the longest time, I don't see lobster pop buoys anywhere near where I go down to the beach. So sure enough, I put some in. Then this guy is a sea captain I know, brings literally 50 pounds, and we're going down there and we're putting them in. I come back 2 days later and there's lobster pot buoys all over the place. I'm like, how? Is there some dude with a telescope on the other side going, honey, I think we've just paid the rent. This is $1,000 worth of lobster back into the drink. Let's go get them.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Unbelievable.
Do you think those lobsters are domesticated so then they get lost and don't know how to swim?
I was careful. I didn't name any of them.
Okay. Nice. Good. You didn't get attached, and I think that's important when you're on a humanitarian mission.
Well, there was Lefty, but he was missing a claw.
No, but there's video, and it was really cute because first they dropped one in, and then they dropped in another, and the first one went over to a little cave, and then the other one joined it. So they were probably just like super happy to be free together and just tripping out over being in their natural environment. And who knows how long they had been away, or how if their brains could even compute time the way I am spending way too much time thinking about it.
Yeah,
we fully thought they were going to duke it out, but they didn't. They just cruised. So I brought a bunch of eels down once too. I took video of that.
Eels?
Yeah, little eels. When we were kids, we used to go down there and we'd catch eels. We fished. That's why I'm putting the lobsters back. I fished so much and took so many lobsters, and now there's not as much as there was, and I regret not having a better mindset about how much I took and how much I ate. I should have been better at that. So now I'm trying to pay my ticket off.
No, I agree with that. I mean, I was young once and had a pellet gun. I totally get you. Yeah.
Okay, so anytime I've shown a video with audio, you guys have just kept talking. So I'm assuming you're not hearing it.
He can mute it.
I can mute it.
He can mute it.
I muted it. You're good.
You muted it. Okay, so the two that I'm playing, they have the music and sounds. So I'm going to start it now. I'm going to mute myself.
Thank you.
Where's the wave, right? Come on now. There she blows. Cupcake Island. There it is.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and I think it's important for everyone to, again, know, since we've been doing this for an hour and 48 minutes, to know that that wave is there in a way that's like, no one wants you to know that, because of, if you understood how planets and suns and bodies, luminary bodies, what they actually were, it would help bring you out of the matrix, right? Just as that's like a small summation.
So check that last Jupiter one you just saw.
That's
if you pay
crazy.
attention, you can see one of the little moons at the bottom left.
Oh,
There it is over Saturn.
It did it over even the rings,
yeah.
right? Am I crazy? I saw that.
The whole
Yeah.
thing.
Oh shit. The
The
whole
whole enchilada.
Yo.
Okay. So then this
Like some of that shit disappeared.
yeah, that's crazy. So this would be like electric universe theory mixed with that. So the space is actually a massive body of water. So space is more of an ocean than an empty void kind of idea.
I said it in 2016. Space might be better described as liquid.
You know what's funny? I think I actually heard you say that back in the day. That's hilarious. Yeah.
I asked JFK. You know what
Yeah.
he told me? We set sail on the sea. It's all nautical. I'm like, dude, where's your
Yeah.
skipper's cap? You know, I thought we were going to the moon here.
I mean, that would make a lot of sense, especially because, you know, the human body, we are electromagnetic beings. This makes more sense, obviously, with the sun and the luminary bodies, electromagnetic beings. And then everything, you know, it is water
See,
and it's all
look.
different, right?
Look, lower left. That's one of the moons there. Probably.
Oh, I
Io.
see. Yeah.
Crazy.
Isn't it Io that became the sun in 2010? That movie?
Oh, was it?
Well,
I
they
think
used
it was
Jupiter
Jupiter.
instead of Saturn, right? They said they couldn't make the rings. It's supposed to be Saturn.
Yeah. Well, who is it that says Joseph Farrell or somebody like that I've listened to talks about how Saturn used to be the sun, right? That was
Well, yeah. That's
right.
the old Rosicrucian line.
The Rosicrucian. Yeah,
But
exactly.
it's not
Yeah.
the Saturn you're thinking of. It is
No.
it's different.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
still.
But it means something. It means something
Right.
that it's like,
Correspondence.
yeah, exactly. And the idea that the sun can change through time. It's not always the same massive thing that we're seeing, but
We're seeing it now. It's pale.
Yeah.
It's changing. And look at like the old Hopi tradition. Well, during the first sun, and
Right,
then there was
right.
You know, they're acting. It's like the moon. I'm here to tell you, the moon is the most mysterious thing ever, like by a gazillion miles ever. Why do we call it a new moon? Why isn't it just the same old moon? Well, I predicted years ago that when it's new, it's see-through, and when it's very young, at least for most of a day, when it starts to light up again, it's see-through. And there were royal astronomers that got booted out who said, I saw Jupiter through it and other things. So the moon, there is so much to learn about the moon. And by the way, it absolutely plays a role when you push up daisies.
oh, for sure. I mean, the moon is a correspondence on the Tree of Life to Yesod.
But
And
they already
that's-
told you, right? In DreamWorks, the little boy fishing on the moon for souls. You're
Exactly.
supposed to recognize that he's fishing for souls. And wait a minute. He threw the bobber. I wasn't looking at the moon. That was
Yep.
the reflection of the moon on the lake. Every Buddhist text says, don't point to the moon. Show me its reflection on the surface of a lake.
Yeah,
Right?
that little boy is Tron, right? The gatekeeper into Hades and into the underworld.
He'll hook you up.
Yeah, those dad jokes are just popping right now.
what can you do with a drunken sailor?
Oh, that's good.
Oh, here's the exploding orb.
What do you think? Do you subscribe to or have any credence to the idea that the moon is kind of like a bell and rings at all, or no?
No,
No, okay.
not buying a NASA line. Don't care. Show
Yeah.
me video. I'm still not buying it.
I think Randall Carlson and the people he talks about things like that.
Yeah, you're going to tell me it ran. Go ahead and tell me what note it played.
Right. Okay. I'll reach out once I listen to that.
When I first saw this and didn't know what to expect, I definitely thought it was aliens. But then as soon as it exploded and chemicals came out of it, my heart sank and I realized it was the New World Order.
So I thought this was
Right.
literally a chemtrail orb. I'm like telling my wife, I can't believe it. I've got the telescope, but I'm tracking this by hand with a telescope. And my wife's all, don't lose it. Don't lose it. And all of a sudden, boof, it blows up. And she couldn't see it. She found it and she lost it. She's all yelling, where'd it go? Where'd it go? but this rained down, all this crap in this thing rains down on mile
Like,
after mile of houses.
What?
That there's this
How
little
long ago
device.
was this?
That little red device has an antenna and it's blinking as it falls. So we had no chemtrails
2014.
for 3 days. Then the second chemtrail that got laid dropped this out of the plane.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think it was measuring.
Yeah.
And probably that little device said, if you find this, mail it to, or, you know, call this number, probably something like that. But the amount of crap that came out of it, you can't even tell by the video.
Oh, that's crazy. That's like the stuff you were talking about on Sean Atwood the other day there, Nick, with the weather balloons going up in the sky and changing things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You know, it was creepy too. I did want to mention on the show. I think I forgot, and I'm not necessarily saying that's what it was, but some of the patents that I had that you know, for weather modification, it was like a balloon, and then it had like these kind of like these satellite things on it. And it was very much like basically what it was drawn, even in the patent, looked just like that shit that was in the sky when they were swearing China was spying on us. I was like, I don't know, that looks just like a weather modification balloon as well.
Well, this thing had things packed, whatever all that debris is was packed inside, and that little flashing device with a big long antenna on it unpacked when it blew up and fell into neighborhood after neighborhood of houses. It was astonishing the amount of junk that came out of it. Can't really see.
There
so well.
was in the UK insider that was involved in the experiment simply released the name of it, the stratospheric stratospheric aerosol transport and nucleation experiment, which is Satan, right? And so the guys just literally leaked out that this was the name. They didn't say exactly what they were doing, weather modification or something, but it literally says transport and nucleation.
Where's church lady when you need her?
Yeah. and they've since I don't believe they've stopped releasing the results of the experiment. So,
well, a bunch of people this last snowstorm collected samples and got it tested. There's some bad stuff in the snow.
Yeah,
in certain places, it's just toxic.
Heard that from a lot of homesteaders.
Yeah,
that made that comment.
Yeah, aluminum, barium, and strontium.
It's so far beyond that. I mean, radioactive material, biological bacteria, synthetic stuff, poisons, metals. I mean, it's just like, holy.
Yeah.
Let's play some Zeppelin for them. Your time is going to come.
I got the shooting orb up.
All right. This is the most vexing clip I ever shot. Used to be back in the day when we saw chemtrails, quite often we saw these little orbs. They're little balls of light. This day, they were all over the sky, and I had this cheap, crappy camera, and my wife said, go get the telescope, and I said, I'm afraid by the time I get it set up, we'll miss them. Yeah, so I'm using this little crappy handheld. What you're going to see is one of these little balls of light. That last thing that blew up, I thought it was one of these, but it wasn't. Anyhow, these little skyfish things were flying around. Never saw them before this. So this dot of light, which is an orb, you can see them right there, goes down into the chemtrail. The chemtrail's going to left of frame with the wind, and this thing flies into the wind. Now, at one point, it's going to shoot 2 plasma beams into the chemtrail. Not kidding you. A ball of light shoots 2 plasma beams, for lack of better description terms. These are just the little skyfish things that I never saw before, buzzing all over the place. They were white, and they had like a weird tail on them that you can't really see. This was a terrible camera.
Oh, that is so crazy.
Okay, here we go. I think.
Should I forward it a little bit?
I'm not sure yet. I don't even see the orb yet.
Usually it's more interesting anyway when you're doing all the zooming in and contrast changing.
Yeah.
Because I've got it muted and you're probably just talking.
Go ahead, click forward a little bit. Okay, there it is. So there's the little orb right above the chemtrail, just a little to the right of center. See the little light dot?
Yeah.
That's an orb, a real orb. and they look like little balls of plasma light or something. This thing, like the chemtrail is being blown to the left of frame. This thing's going to fall in to the chemtrail and then go against the wind. And I'll try to tell you as best I can when it's going to shoot the plasma beams. But look, it's meandering. It's clearly under intelligent control. There's a couple camera. Okay, as this fuse, get ready. Look at it very carefully. You're going to see 2 plasma beams come out of it right there. Right there.
Oh, shit.
And I think watch this. Now you can see it. See that? What the hell is that? It's a ball of light shooting little laser beams.
Yeah, some Star Wars shit.
For crying in the beer, how do you describe that?
I wonder if that's like a drone and it's weather modification.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Definitely not. No, this is definitely jam.
This is like preserves.
What's vexing is that you put a circle at the place where we don't see it anymore under the assumption that that might be a target.
I got bored. I had to mess. Yeah, I was just messing with you. There you go. There's the shot.
That must be really slowed down.
I mean, how do you describe it? There's more to the story. So there were, I think, many orbs around this one chemtrail, and I zeroed in on that one. So I produced this clip within a day or so, put it up, and from the point I put this clip, we never saw naked eye orbs again, and they were pretty common before this. So either that's a coinkydink, which I don't believe in, but I'm just telling you, if you see one of these now, it's a rare event with your naked eye. And if you can see what it's doing, I almost wonder if they can cloak them or whatever. But I mean, come on, this is a ball of light literally shooting plasma or something into the chemtrail. I mean, what's it shooting at?
It's really weird.
There's another one at the bottom. They're actually in this frame. There's another one, and I think it shoots too. You just can't see it very well. So is that it? Did we?
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's anything we could bring up too quickly other than if I found the Vortex one. But yeah, I think we covered it a lot. But remember, there's 19 solar investigation videos on your website for members and the 2-hour film. And then, of course, all of the clips posted at.
So let me explain that. So Ccrow777 radio is where all Ccrow777 stuff goes. And the reason for that, if people want to say, oh, you're a money grubber, let me tell you something. We struggle to pay our bills. We're not millionaires. But anyhow, all the stuff I put up on YouTube, like the original lunar wave you guys saw here today, like a year or two after it had already been on YouTube all that time, I got a notice from them that they have rights to everything ever uploaded to their channel. And if they wanted to use the content for, say, a commercial, they could. Now, on top of the censorship, that's it. None of my work goes to platforms that censor or try to control. So I'm running everything we do on a private server, which guarantees we don't censor language. We conduct ourselves like adults. But all my solar work, all of it, is on the website, free to members. I filmed the lunar wave in front of the sun. So now there's a solar wave too. And that footage is available for members. So I'm just explaining to you why we do it the way we do it. To me, censorship is the definition of evil. It's not meant to protect anyone of anything. It is to control human thought. And I got news for the people who think that's a good idea. We have all been granted the divine spark of life, and with that comes free will, and it is the most special gift you could ever be granted. And if you want to look at Buddhism or other ancient things, they'll tell you gods that don't have free will, just to put a fine point on it. It's to control your free will and to reprogram you to censor yourself. On the private server, all that stuff is maintained. There have been, I don't know how many clips deleted off YouTube. Every episode that's been censored or deleted exists on the private server. So that's why we do it this way. And that's why the membership that helps us support a private server gets free access to everything.
Thank you very much.
Because I ain't playing the censorship game.
I don't believe you. No, I wish I had my own server.
I conduct myself like an adult. I'm a compassionate individual. I don't do harm. So censorship shouldn't be part of what I do.
Oh no, I agree with that. Did anybody have any more questions? Or anything? Jen, you got anything? Nothing? All right.
Well, we're in overtime. I think I'm getting time and a half now, right?
Yeah, no, we're even over here, right? I think we only had until 9, so yeah. We're gonna have to
What do you mean I'm not getting paid?
That was volunteer. That was community service right there. Thank you very much for both of you coming on. That was some wild.
Thank Rose, man. She keeps the engine moving.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for
thank you,
having
Rose.
us. It's really fun.
Hell yeah, no, it really was. That was some. I'll actually have to go back and rewatch this.
It's really cool to talk to people who actually know things, and
Thank you.
I'm used to talking to people where it's just like their eyes glaze over. And if I try to explain this to anyone in my family, I just feel like I'm going to get, isolated and black sheeped even more. So I try to. So this is a good outlet.
Yeah.
Don't bug me. I got to go get my booster shot.
Yeah.
What's wrong with my left eye?
Yeah.
What's wrong with my kidney?
Sorry. Glitching out over here.
Check it out. Magnets stick to me.
Yeah.
But before we wrap it up, I'll let the other rejects mention their stuff real quick this time. Jen, since you weren't here at the beginning, let everybody know where they can find you.
So sorry about that, and apologies for the technical issues. Obviously, we got too much in the polarities, and the heavenly host, if you want to call it that, they didn't like it, or we were just too powerful, and we, kind of blew them away. Sort of.
I'm just saying, if you're gonna say rejects, stuff can happen.
Absolutely. Well, we always joke about riding the polarities on this show, so I think it's perfectly fitting that a conversation like this happens, and other things also happen. So it's also very Uranian to have like an effect on the electronics, right? So it's interesting. I want to just thank and apologize both to Crow and Rose, as well as, of course, Nick, Brandon, and Judith for my tardiness. I don't know what's going on with me lately. I just kind of all over the place, but thank you so much for inviting me on, Nick, Mr. 93 boss, of course. Brandon, my friend, my buddy, my brother in the Gray Lodge, of course. He didn't really know he was getting added, but he's part of it now. So Judith, of course, I love working with you. Thank you so much for coming on. And Crow and Rose, it was awesome to meet you after all these years of like hearing you on other shows and like your own show, and just like all the peripheral sort of like interactions we've had. I appreciate it very much. And I thought this was a great show and a great presentation. So if people want to find me, they can check me out at Wukong Reborn, WUKONG Reborn, or at Threshold Saints on Spotify, Apple, IG, and Twitter. You can follow the show account, or at thresholdsaints.substack.com. You can also follow the Gray Lodge at The True Gray Lodge, TRVE Graylodge.com, where you can follow all of the brothers. And you can see what we're up to on Friday, February 13th, which will be Will as the Cause of Fire, which is an exposition on the Gnostic Seth, which will be aired live on X, but also recorded to YouTube. So like and subscribe to our Gray Lodge YouTube channel. Thank you again. Amazing show. I'll catch the top 50 that I missed in after the playback. And it was amazing. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. Have a great night.
Thank you, Jen. Appreciate you making it anyway. And
it was good to meet you, Jen.
You're
likewise. Thank you so much, Crow. Appreciate it.
And you, Judith? What's going on?
Yes, first, thank you, Nick, for having me on. I'm very happy. Crow and Rose, it was a pleasure, enlightening. And I find the work that you're doing very prophetic, because how it aligns with spirituality. And thank you so much for doing this work.
I love it. We're resonating. can
from
feel it.
you. So, like, I hope that we can come back and hear more about what you do and just keep the conversation going, because that's what we want, is not to just repeat the same thing over and over again. But someone on the panel said, you know, we if we get, oh, maybe it was Crow, if we get more people thinking about things that will help move things forward. So we want more people to add their brains to the concepts and then help us to shed away that which is not true. Because the one thing about this community that I think I would want everyone to focus on the most is the ability to let go of information once they find out that they made a mistake. Because unfortunately, after about 10 years, it came to a point where people were, you know, they had the truth hit them in the face and they ignored it, and it broke my heart. So I just want to be a crusader for acknowledging, and that will be the most heroic thing one can do, is admit when they've made a mistake.
Well, thank you both.
Yeah, well
Both
said.
for coming on.
So, Judith, did you say where people can find you?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, actually, I wanted to just not to start another discussion. I just wanted to put an earworm in there for when you do come back on. Wink, wink. Possibly quantum quantum physics. I would probably like to talk to you about that and how it works within how you go about it. But that's a whole different hour long.
We'll bring back Luke. We'll bring back Luke, and we'll do an episode with him so he can speak directly about that torsion that causes the scalar knot, which causes the periodic table of elements, which he can match up empirically.
Oh, really?
He'll make your head hurt.
Oh, that's exactly what I want.
Yeah, we love that. We definitely love that.
That's great. So leaking out of my ear.
And he's only 16.
Really?
What?
Well,
I'm kidding. He's young.
Oh,
I was like, he's got Matt beat.
yeah, that's good.
Pretty sure he's got a driver's license.
But Judith, real quick.
oh yes. You can find me on YouTube as the Loon, and on X as the Loon, and I focus more on mindfulness and self-awareness. And again, thank you for having me, and thank you so much, Crow and Rose, for enlightening us.
Oh, thank you guys for having us on. And in the chat, I'm actually going to write the address to the private server so people can come join us with free speech rules. Rules will probably be better than I forgot the W's. That's okay. I think that's actually 666 in Hebrew or something. So maybe I did okay. No, I forgot the W's.
I was blown away by the knowledge that Brandon put forth tonight as well. And I feel like we could even do like a Crow episode with all of the guests on panel. So much knowledge brought to the table. Really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
And Brandon, one thing I was going to say too, if you come back on, there's probably more rejects that weren't here than are even on the show. So I mean, I could even bring other people on. You know, bring Judith back since she'd be excited. But you know what I'm saying? There's even more people here that I can bring to the table that have different point of views. So we could definitely make that work.
Well, but get enough of them together regularly, they're no longer rejects.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
There you go. Step in the right direction. Anyhow, for everyone listening, I hope we see you as members of Ccrow777 Radio. We truly protect free speech, and everything we've done from episode 1 is available to members for free. And many people go back to episode 1 and listen forward because there's only so many times you can talk about 9/11 or some other thing. But those early episodes, people are blown away quite often, and you get Shoot the Moon. And the only access to my current solar work is on that website, because Google ain't getting its little stanky fingers on anything of mine anymore. So if you see something on one of these platforms, you're looking at a pittance. It's not the meat and potatoes. It's probably not even the whole potato.
You definitely won't see 44 Death Doors that episode. Get it to an automatic strike.
Oh yeah, we did 44 Death Doors because at that period, cable news was going crazy with the death encodes the way they do.
Right.
Oh, wait a minute. We got to stay on live. We're on YouTube.
Oh yeah, that's what I don't censor myself on this shit.
44, the unalive code.
Yeah. But real quick to wrap it up, Brandon, please.
Nice. Well, thank you, Nick. Thank you, Crow. Thank you, Rose. You guys I've been waiting to hear and chat with you for a long time. So I'm very grateful that you came on to not only Occult Rejects, but then that Nick allows me to come on and also chat with you, because the Occult Rejects are talking to all people, which is why I like what Nick's doing so well. And it brings people in from the, the more hated term conspiracy, alternative knowledge, alternative history, all the way to the occult style. So it's a beautiful thing. And I just can't thank you enough, Nick, every time we're on doing this thing, as well as Crow. You're kind of one of the goated oats out there of truthers trying to red pill the world. So I thank you both so much.
Well, why do I got to be a goat?
You can you can be whatever animal you want, Crow. That's amazing. You can be GOAT, greatest of all time. Let's do it. Thank you, everyone. Go subscribe to Magus in the Media, where we break down all the things: literature, anime, comic books, music, and all of that's coming at us to show you that there is magic in the world, and there is meaning in this postmodern nonsense. And with us all together, we can break free from the Matrix. That's all I got. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Crow. Thank you, Jin and Judith and Rose. What a beautiful night, huh?
Nice to meet you all. Thank you guys so much.
Yes,
Crow, don't be a Toys R Us kid. Get
oh,
it?
there you go. Oh man, can we go back to those days where I go with a Nintendo game or some shit?
I drink Dr. Pepper and I'm proud.
Memories, man. Fuck. Do you two want to just? I know you've mentioned it plenty of times, but just before we wrap it up, do you want to plug everything one more time?
All right, Rose, you want to do it this time?
Ccrow777radio.com, Ccrow777radio.com. If you become a member, you get access to over 1,400 hours of radio and plus 19 solar investigation videos, and a video episode that covers the movie Michael with John Travolta, showing that he isn't an angel but more of an angle of the sun, zodiac, wink wink, and a 2-hour film called Shoot the Moon, featuring all of the telescope work, a lot of which you already saw here tonight for free, but with beautiful music that was orchestrated by an LSU professor. So you can see the trailer on the website, and if you want to join, we would love to have you, because we have a whole private forum where people can say anything they want, and it's not on a corporate platform.
Damn, she's way better at that than I am. I was just going to say it's content with balls, and if you've got like a scrotal lacking, you can go there. Yeah, Rose, you killed it.
Yeah, nice. That's why you need a producer, Crow. That's great.
That was awesome.
That was awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you both again, and I really look forward to having a conversation with you both in the future. This was really fun, and that was some wild shit you brought to the table. So thank you both very much, and thank you everybody in the chat. That's what's up. A lot of people here, a lot of people chatting it up. That's why we go live. And until the next one, everybody be well. Later.
Ciao, man.